A real journey to English fluency, from struggles to success. Have you ever felt stuck in your English learning journey? Maybe you've spent countless hours studying grammar books or memorizing vocabulary lists, but still freeze up when it's time to actually speak. Don't worry, you're not alone. As someone who has been exactly where you are, I want to share 9 powerful real-world strategies that transformed my English learning experience. These aren't just theoretical tips from a textbook. Each one comes from real teachers and learners who have tested these methods in the trenches of language learning. We'll explore everything from the psychology of building confidence to practical techniques like shadowing, from making English a natural part of your daily life to structuring your thoughts clearly when you speak. What makes these strategies different is their focus on practical application. You won't find any magic solutions here. Instead, you'll discover actionable methods that fit into your daily life, building your skills naturally and consistently. Whether you're a beginner finding your voice or an intermediate learner pushing towards fluency, these techniques can be adapted to your level and needs. So grab your notebook, open your mind, and let's dive into these 9 transformative techniques that will help you not just learn English, but live it. Remember, every expert was once a beginner, and every fluent speaker started with a single word. Let's begin your journey to confident, natural English speaking. 1. The power of shadowing. Hey there! Let me tell you about my absolute favorite technique for improving English: shadowing. Think of it as becoming an echo of native speakers, but in a really fun and effective way. When I started learning English, I discovered that shadowing was like having a secret weapon. Here's exactly how I do it. I pick a short video or podcast clip, maybe 30 seconds to start, and I listen to it carefully. Then, I play it again, but this time, I speak along with the speaker, trying to match every single word, every rise and fall in their voice, every little pause. It's like being their speaking shadow. At first, I felt silly. My voice was stumbling over words, and I was always a split second behind. But that's completely normal. I kept at it, and something magical started happening. My mouth began to naturally form the sounds the way native speakers do. I wasn't just learning individual words anymore. I was learning the music of English. Here's my daily shadowing routine that you can try. 1. Morning commute. I shadow podcast hosts for 10 minutes. 2. Lunch break. I pick a favorite YouTube video and shadow it twice. 3. Evening practice. I choose a scene from a TV show and shadow it until I can match the actor's timing perfectly. The best part? I noticed improvements in areas I wasn't even directly practicing. My listening got better because I was paying such close attention to sounds. My speaking became more fluid because my mouth was getting used to English movement patterns. Even my grammar improved because I was internalizing correct sentence structures through repetition. Pro tip: record yourself shadowing sometimes. It's amazing, and sometimes funny, to hear the difference between your first try and your 10th try with the same clip. I keep these recordings to track my progress, and it's incredibly motivating to hear how far I've come. 2. Making English part of your daily life. You know what made the biggest difference in my English journey? It was the day I stopped treating English as a subject and started making it part of my everyday life. Let me share how I did this. First, I changed my phone's language to English. Yes, it was scary at first. I got lost in the settings a few times, but within a week, I was navigating everything naturally. And my everyday vocabulary was growing without any extra study time. Then, I started what I call my English Environment Project. Here's what it looks like. Morning routine. I listen to English news while getting ready. Cooking. I follow English recipe videos. This really improved my instruction following skills. Exercise. My workout videos are all in English. Social media. I follow at least 5 new English speaking accounts each week in areas that interest me. Entertainment. I watch movies in English with English subtitles. The key is consistency. I made a rule for myself. From 6 p.m. to bedtime, it's English-only time. During these hours, I think in English, write my notes in English, and even talk to myself in English. Yes, I look crazy sometimes, but it works. One of my favorite tricks is the inner monologue switch. Throughout the day, I try to narrate my activities in English in my head. Now I'm waiting for the bus. It's a bit late today. The weather is getting cloudy. It feels strange at first, but it helps you think in English naturally. 3. The confidence game. Let me share something personal. When I started speaking English, I would always begin with, "I'm sorry for my bad English." Sound familiar? Well, I learned something life-changing. Confidence isn't something you wait to have. It's something you build by doing. Here's what changed my mindset completely. I realized I was already bilingual. While many native English speakers only spoke one language, I could communicate in at least 2. That's a superpower, not something to apologize for. I developed what I call my confidence toolbox. I practiced power poses before English conversations. I kept a wins journal where I wrote down every successful English interaction. I started viewing mistakes as proof that I'm learning and growing. I celebrated small victories, like ordering coffee or making a joke in English. I reminded myself that accents are beautiful. They tell the story of where we come from. A game-changing realization was that native speakers aren't judging us nearly as harshly as we judge ourselves. Most are actually impressed by our effort to speak their language and are happy to help. 4. The PrEP framework for clear speaking. When I found myself getting stuck mid-conversation, freezing up, or losing my train of thought, I discovered the PrEP framework, and it changed everything. Here's how I use it. Point. I start with my main idea. Reason. I explain why I think this. Example. I give a real-life example. Point. I restate my main idea to wrap it up. For instance, if someone asks about my favorite season, I love spring the best. The weather is perfect for outdoor activities. Last spring, I went hiking every weekend and saw beautiful wildflowers blooming. That's why spring is definitely my favorite time of year. I practice this structure with everyday topics. My favorite foods, my hobbies, my opinions on movies, my travel experiences. The beauty of PrEP is that it gives your thoughts a clear structure, making it easier for both you and your listener to follow along. The power of regular speaking appointments. This was a game changer for me, scheduling regular English speaking sessions. I set up a 30-minute speaking appointment every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Just knowing I had this commitment changed everything about how I approached learning English. Here's what happened. Monday, I'd start thinking about topics to discuss. Tuesday, I'd practice key vocabulary and expressions. Wednesday morning, I'd do some quick shadowing practice. Wednesday evening, the actual conversation. Thursday, I'd review what I learned and write down new expressions. Having this regular appointment created accountability, gave me a clear goal to work toward, helped me measure my progress, built my confidence gradually, provided regular feedback on my speaking. Remember, these aren't just tips. They're tools that worked for real people like me in their English learning journey. Mix and match them, adapt them to your style, and most importantly, be patient with yourself. Every small step forward is progress, and you're doing better than you think. Keep going, keep practicing, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself. Your English journey is unique, and that's what makes it beautiful. The copy and create method. Let me tell you about one of my favorite discoveries in language learning, what I call the copy and create method. I learned this from my own experience. Here's how I do it. First phase, the collector. I become a collector of real English phrases. When I hear someone say something useful, I immediately write it down in my phone. For example, I remember hearing someone describe their meal as absolutely delicious instead of just very good. These little authentic phrases are gold. My favorite collections include restaurant phrases, "This is cooked to perfection," social responses, "See you later" instead of always saying goodbye, meeting expressions, "That's exactly what I was thinking," small talk phrases, "Don't you just love this weather?" Second phase, the mirror. I practice these phrases in safe situations first. At home, talking to myself in the mirror. When I'm alone in my car, while doing household chores, recording myself on my phone. Third phase, the real-world test. Then comes the exciting part, using these phrases in real conversations. I remember the first time I naturally said, "See you later," instead of my usual formal goodbye. It felt amazing. The key is to start small, maybe one new phrase per day. 7. Making friends in English. This has been my secret weapon in becoming fluent, creating genuine friendships in English. Let me share how I did it, even though I was scared at first. My friendship building strategy. 1. Start online. I joined interest-based Discord servers. I love photography, so I started there. I participated in online book clubs. I found language exchange partners through apps. I followed and interacted with people on social media who shared my interests. 1. Moved to real conversations. I started with text chats, moved to voice messages, finally progressed to video calls, eventually met some friends in person. The beautiful thing about making friends in English is that you forget you're studying, you're just living. I remember spending hours discussing photography techniques with an American friend, and only later realizing I had been speaking English the whole time without even thinking about it. Tips for natural conversations. Focus on shared interests. It makes the conversation flow naturally. Don't worry about mistakes. Friends are understanding. Share things about your culture. It makes for interesting conversations. Ask questions about things you're curious about. Be yourself. Authenticity matters more than perfect grammar 8. The practice like you play method. This sports-inspired approach changed how I prepare for English conversations. Just like athletes don't just show up for the game without practice, I don't just throw myself into English conversations without preparation. My practice routine. 1. Script writing phase. I write scripts for common situations, introducing myself at a business meeting, making a doctor's appointment, ordering at a restaurant, having a casual conversation about weekend plans, discussing my job and career one. First, I read the script aloud several times. Then I practice without looking at it. I record myself and listen back. I make adjustments based on what I hear. I practice in front of a mirror to work on facial expressions. Real-life implementation. I start with low-pressure situations. I use parts of my practice scripts in real conversations. I add variations to make it more natural. I keep track of what works and what needs improvement. One of my favorite preparation techniques is the what if game. What if they ask me to repeat something? What if I don't understand their response? What if they ask a follow-up question? I prepare mini scripts for these situations too. Could you please repeat that? I'm not quite sure I understood. Could you explain it differently? That's interesting. Could you tell me more about that? 9. The 30-minute weekly commitment. This is the foundation of my English learning strategy. Every week, I have at least one 30-minute conversation in English. It's non-negotiable, just like a doctor's appointment or a work meeting. How I make it work. 1. Schedule planning. I set a fixed time every week, Mondays at 7 p.m. I mark it in my calendar. I set reminders the day before one. Preparation strategy. 3 days before, choose conversation topics. 2 days before, review relevant vocabulary. 1 day before, practice potential conversations. Day of, light review and confidence-building exercises. During the conversation, I keep a small notebook for new words. I try to use at least one new expression. I ask questions when I don't understand. I focus on fluency over perfection. 1. After the session, I write down what went well. I note areas for improvement. I list new vocabulary I learned. I plan what to practice for next time. Remember, learning English is a journey, not a race. Each of these methods has helped me in different ways, and I mix and match them depending on my needs and goals. The key is to find what works for you and stick with it consistently. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. They're just stepping stones to fluency. Keep practicing, keep believing in yourself, and most importantly, enjoy the journey of learning this beautiful language.